I need Dalton to come back so I can do the intro. Thank you for joining us. This is another episode. Maybe the first, but maybe another episode of the Comedy Underground podcast. Presented by Hodder, Home of the Arts, and with our partners, Burley Brewing. So you can see on one of your screens, we have Dalton Whiskey joining me with a couple bloody frothy mid-tides right here. And our guest today, Dusty Rich of Dusty Rich fame. How you doing, Dusty? Good?
You haven't really done that. That was just a practice. That was a practice intro, right?
No, that was the real intro. I'm not doing it again. Are you making that face because I did the intro bad, or are you making that face because why?
Dalton's picture says that the mic is muted.
Yeah, but you will hear him through mine.
Yeah.
Laptop.
Great.
Man, I had a perfectly good intro going. We had Dalton coming in.
Do it again.
You've ruined it. You've ruined it by talking about technical issues. As we're recording this with three laptops, a Zoom, 2 GoPros, your camera, and the Zoom meeting software, which apparently is unsafe. I didn't know, but did you hear about? Yeah,
unsafe.
Apparently.
Why is it unsafe?
Well, I read this thing where some researchers bought 500,000 login passwords for $1 each on some dark web website.
Good luck with my login
I'm glad we're using this platform.
48 characters long.
How many characters?
48.
Yeah, but
1,
I think
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, till 48.
Okay, that is. I think that might actually be more than 48 characters long, but that's good.
My trick is that people would get bored by typing 1 to 48 numerically in the password box, so they wouldn't steal my nudes.
Well, I think the issue, Dusty, is more that they bought the passwords in a file. They didn't crack them. They didn't go through and spend ages trying to figure out what your password was. They just had them. Someone was like, "Oh, we've got Dusty's password."
It's the Dusty Rich Show.
Welcome to the Comedy Underground podcast, presented by Hodder, Home of the Arts, and with our partners, Burley, as well. You can see featured there on Dalton's camera. And on Dusty's as well. We are observing all social distancing at the moment to the point where we have confined ourselves to an actual basement. We were worried that the name wasn't really going to make sense, weren't we, Dalton? Comedy Underground, just being recorded in a living room, while we can't gain access to the basement at Hodder at the moment to run Friday night shows. But then we remembered that we have a whole crawl space thing. And I don't know if you know this, Dusty, but I found this out while setting up with Dalton today. As I was moving stuff around in here, he says, "I'm deathly afraid of spiders." And that's all there is down here. Yeah. It's all spiders.
Yeah.
That's a spider condominium down there. I can see 3 behind you, but I have red eyes.
We actually had to send off some eviction notices before we could get in here.
Hey, it's illegal to evict anything these days.
That's true.
Yeah, no, I know we had issues with that as well. But then I squished a bunch of the spiders, and
that's not illegal.
Yeah, no, that was the end of the matter.
Squishing employees is fine. There's no legislation on squishing employees.
No, we totally,
just can't fire him or
to do that. So, I mean, all 3 of us really have sort of been out of work for 4 weeks now, I suppose.
About that, yeah.
Yeah. Both.
Well, I did some work, but I haven't been paid for it, so I don't know if that's real work.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's true for a lot of the work we do usually as well, though, isn't it, Dusty?
Yeah, we're on a 78-day pay cycle.
It's a really slow turnaround. But yeah, I mean, for you guys, that means both performing comedy, and for Dalton and myself, that means running shows. And then for me, also, it means not having a comedy festival, which was a pretty brutal one.
Hey, remember last year when you had your inaugural comedy festival, and your dreams were so wide-eyed and crystal clear as to the future of the comedy festival, and COVID.
Everything, it was all in my hand, you know. It was all there.
Yeah.
And in fact, we ran the gala, and then on the Saturday, and then the Monday, it was like, sorry, that's it.
Yeah.
It was illegal.
The night that you lost the festival and like everyone's going into lockdown and isolation, I got messages from several like open micers being like, man, you guys got spots? Like, I'll jump up anywhere.
As soon as everyone starts getting their gigs cancelled, they're like, yeah, I'll do anything. Have you got anything available? I say, no.
Can I just hey bro, you got 5 on the gala? Can I jump on the gala, bro?
Say, man, there is a pandemic.
Yeah. It's like, hey, man, we all just lost our jobs. So,
I mean, really, that's what we wanted to, I guess, start getting into, Dusty, is what it's pivoting time now. We're moving away from. I mean, look at us here. We've gotten funding to start creating digital content, which I mean usually would be a great and exciting opportunity, and now still great and still exciting, but also feels
But now a necessity.
It's bittersweet.
yeah. Like, I love that we've been picked up and given a platform, but like, I don't want to be in here.
You specifically mean in this underground
In the spider room, yeah.
spider room.
But
Remove my fears.
Yeah, it is great that we have this platform, but we had a platform. It was called a stage. We had
it was
one.
a good platform.
And it was taken
It was
away from
working
us
well.
viciously.
we all
Ripped away.
knew how to make money from the platform. It was great. It was all going well. But this isn't the first. This isn't even the first Zoom gig that you've done, Dusty.
No, it is. In fact, I think it's the fucking third one in the last 2 days.
Really?
But yes, I did. Well, specifically, those were podcast recordings or like, you know, whatever the fuck this is now, that where we meet up in little squares. But that I actually did do a comedy gig on Zoom last week or whatever it was.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago.
I did actual stand-up comedy in one of these squares to, how many people were a part of that? Like 54 or something like that?
Yeah, around the 50s, yeah, mid-50s.
Around
How was
54
that? Was it weird?
people. It's actually, I was weirded out in the beginning by it, but then you realize you're actually getting instant feedback. I mean, it comes across weirdly as people laugh through your little speakers.
Yeah.
But there's instant feedback. So that's the whole point of stand-up comedy is instant feedback.
Yeah, exactly.
So it kind of worked. It did work. It worked 100%, and I think it is a possibility for gigs during this time, and hopefully this time isn't forever. But it's a viable option. It worked. I was funny. Dave thought I was funny in a little square.
It was.
Yeah, great.
It was a good gig. I was in on that one. It was really enjoyable.
Yeah. Cool.
So I mean, yeah. How are you pivoting? What other projects are you working on, Dusty? Like, what's the creative outlet? Because I know for me that I've really just been sitting around my house playing video games, which I think is like an important kind of endeavor in its own respect. But having
daily goals,
having a forced 6 months off, I mean, that's, you know, it's great, but I think it's probably maybe a week and a half before you start going stir crazy, and then you're on the phone and calling people and trying to figure out how to do things and put podcasts together in basements and anything else you can do.
I think, as we've discussed in the past, I think I should have. I've given digital a go. I've given online content a go for a few years. The first time I gave it a go was like 7 years ago, and I've been doing comedy for 11. So, and it just didn't work out because obviously there's no momentum or no fame or whatever the case is. So you're just throwing your little ticket into the YouTube hat and seeing if anyone cares about what you do. So it didn't really work out. So I've been swearing to do digital content since that time it failed. And just haven't done it, and procrastinated. And then a fucking global pandemic happened, and I was like, better do that digital content now.
Yeah.
Time to pivot.
It is. And I mean, you just have to figure out, because I'm struggling with what works for me, you know, because you see the amount of trash that has been unloaded on the internet by comedians and
yeah, it's disgusting.
the amount of absolute toilet water that has been dumped on the internet because every comedian shat him or herself and went like, fuck, I need to put something funny somewhere. And they just
Yeah, no,
Jack
you're right. It's
there.
unbearable.
shat their stuff onto the internet. So I kind of didn't want to jump into it. I haven't wanted to jump into it. I've been kind of watching and seeing what people are doing and stuff like that. And then, as usual, trying to not do what they're doing to create whatever's coming next. I mean, at this point, it's it's called Dusty Rich Online. I don't have a better name for it than that. But that's the pivot, and it's just going to be. I'm going to try and not mention Corona. It's not going to be another fucking Corona Diaries. Do you know how many of those are out there? It's not going to be something like that. It's going to be something that is something that involves me surfing the web. Speaking like a 45-year-old.
My favorite thing from as soon as there was lockdown was the number of web streams of comedians just speaking into hairbrushes, and they were
just
guys
in their lounge room.
Yeah, in the lounge room, like, guys,
It's
I've got a type
embarrassing.
5. Who wants to spot? Everyone, get on board. We're doing web stream comedy in my living room.
I even got offered. I'm not sure who the people are, but they're wanting to live stream for the Melbourne Comedy Festival. The people there, it's called the Melbourne COVID Festival or something like that. And so you're just gonna live stream, again with a hairbrush in your lounge and stuff like that. And I'm like, guys, we had a problem with quality before this thing kicked off, and now you want to fucking do that. So I just, if I'm gonna do something, it's gonna be well produced. It's gonna be well thought out. It's gonna be, it's gonna be niche. It's gonna have value to the viewer instead of just, some guy just talking shit into a fucking camera.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm not doing my
stand-up.
stand-up.
Recycled content too is insane.
Yeah,
Like the same joke being posted every day.
That's it. There is no such thing as a live stand-up performer doing a streaming. There's no such thing. It's two opposing forces, live and streamed. That doesn't fucking work like that. So I will not be doing stand-up comedy online. I will be creating comedic entertainment in another format soon. That's why I'm
that's
so
the thing,
well lit
right?
and everything.
Is you want to pivot away and do something creative, but not have it be, you're not trying to force the square peg into the round hole.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm a stand-up comedian, but I've written for TV, I've written for online stuff, I've performed in online shorts and all sorts of things. So it's its own genre. It's its own like live stand-up comedy, fucking filmed stand-up comedy, online comedy. It's a different genre, so you have to treat it differently. I think if you're a comedian out there who's like, man, I need to get in the fray, I need to get involved, just relax. Take a fucking step back and create something that's worthwhile. Man,
Well, I think when JobKeeper comes through, people are going to relax a little bit as well. As soon as that. As soon as JobKeeper comes through, as soon as that sweet government cheese starts landing in everyone's account, I think there'll be a lot less panic and pressure.
I don't know, bro. I just got the message from the government that said, check it out. Go to the ATO website and check it out. And it's not looking good for me. So I don't know.
You've been a sole trader for more than 12 months.
I have, but it says there was some, and maybe it's just bureaucratic language that I'm not interpreting in the correct way, but it said something along the lines of, if you are
Hey, Safa.
Hey, bro, you're a Kiwi. You're not exactly above my station in this situation. You might be worse.
We were briefly worse, and then they decided that New Zealanders on my visa were allowed to get money, and I said, thank you, Scotty Mo.
Thanks to that.
And
Thanks to that. No, it wasn't ScoMo. It was it was that lovely lady there in your island. What's her name?
Jacinda, yeah.
Jacinda.
Jacinda
She
went
made
out
some
to
calls.
bat, but as much as we'd all love Jacinda Ardern to have any kind of influence on Australian politics, I don't think she does have that much sway.
Yeah, so I don't know. It said something along the lines of, if you own a business and you are the sole participant in the business, it said that more information to follow.
But sole traders are good. They like that was one of the first things that they announced. They just don't have like the
I'm getting my chartered accountant wife to read through that jargon and get back to me.
okay, yeah. I mean, don't listen to me. Definitely let your chartered accountant wife take care of it.
Yeah, I think when and if that payment comes through. Again, I am in a fortunate situation in that my wife, earns a really good salary. So I would almost feel remiss in a way to go like, oh fuck, I also want my money when technically as far as the household income is, we're fine. We're not comfortable. We're uncomfortably fine. So.
Yeah.
So I would feel bad if I was taking money out of Daniel Towns and his long-term girlfriend, they're both in entertainment. So they both need to draw this income, and then I'm going to take money out of
keep it immediately. Hi.
I'm going to take money out of their mouths because I want my fucking $1,500 to spend on video games.
Well, no, I mean, that's the only thing that's going to keep this economy moving, Dusty. You got to appreciate that as well. Well, I mean, that's the thing is that we're, all three of us are sole traders, right? And I mean, there are plenty of, I reckon there are probably, there's a significant number of comedians who, not quite at that famous level, say, who are going to be making more money in the next 6 months off of JobKeeper than they have in the past 6 years off of doing gigs.
Yeah, 100%.
You still got to pay tax on it, though, right?
That's a really
you still
good
got to pay
point.
tax on it.
Well, someone was telling me about they were over in the UK or chatting to a few of their UK friends who who have, and what they've done in the UK is they've basically made up like I think it was 70 to 80% of your wage, like they're just doing a subsidy for it.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So you got to prove that wage.
Well, that's the thing, right? You got to prove the wage. But then so there are all these comedians who have been taking cash jobs and not reporting.
Yeah.
Is that time to pay the piper, motherfucker?
Yeah, dude. And motherfuckers were laughing at me saying, "Oh, why do you pay tax? Why do you pay tax?" Number one, I'm not a citizen, so fucking got to keep up with that. And number two, I believe in the process of tax to a degree to fucking help out people who can't get helped out by the system or whatever. But them motherfuckers with the cash there now, they gotta 70% of your wage. Fuck, my wage is $4 in the last fiscal year.
Yeah, so I hope you've been keeping up with your accounts, Dalton. I know that. So yeah, but okay. Well, I mean, as well as being a beloved comedian across Australia and South Africa, Dusty.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry, Dalton. I mean, you're a beloved
Dalton's
comedian
huge in South
a couple
Africa.
of shows. But you're also, as we saw before from you parading around one of your latest little pieces, more of a promotional
My
piece
artwork.
There, you're also a fantastic artist. Look at that. That's your own head.
Is it me?
I would like to take issue with the fact that you've bleached your hair and you haven't bleached the hair on.
Yeah, this was actually created some time ago, so it'll need to be updated.
That's what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, fascinatingly, I sold some art about not last weekend, the weekend before. And when I say that, I mean to sell art online, it's not a big surprise. But one of my original pieces were bought. One of my original artworks.
You overcharge for those like an insane amount. So honestly,
Hey,
the
bro.
numbers that you put next to those pictures don't make any
Art is
fucking sense to
perception.
me.
Art is perception. There's no way of putting a price on it.
Yeah,
The only way you put price
found a
on-
mark, you suckered him in.
The only way you put a price on art is if you're a based comedy producer and you fucking decide what we should earn. What we should. Imagine if I'd earned more, I'd be sitting pretty right now.
Sorry, that one. You might
Everyone
have to
just
say that
paused.
again for me, Dusty.
I said, imagine if I'd earned more out of all those based comedy gigs in the last 4 years. How much I would be sitting pretty right now.
I can't believe I'm getting roasted as one of the, I would say, best paying, Dalton, you and I, best paying comedy companies in Australia.
It is okay. I will 100% say that as per my experience, you are definitely the best paying comedy company in this country. So, hey, Australia, you fucking suck.
I mean, that's why Dalton and I
How
are in so
is
much trouble.
how is this guy the best paying? He's in a basement filled with spider death right now, filming a
because
podcast,
I pay
and he
properly.
pays the best.
Because we pay acts properly, Dalton and I are relegated and isolated to a basement under our house. We've had
That's
to
right.
rent upstairs to some backpacking Germans, and this is just
Who are
how
stuck
this is
in the
how we live
country.
now.
Yeah, fair enough. Maybe that's why you should have fucked us more.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, that's great. Selling art online is great, and obviously you're free to pursue some other artistic endeavors at the moment while you're not allowed
Yes.
to go outside.
Yeah, I have completely outfitted on that wall. There is the wall to my garage, and I've completely outfitted the garage to be a woodworking / spray painting environment to create some projects coming up. Wow, because the fucking news is just a nightmare to figure out what. Do I get started on these things? Is the curve flattening? What the fuck is going on? Nobody knows. Don't worry, everyone. There's a fucking vaccine coming in a fortnight. Hey, sorry about that. It's 18 months.
Well, I don't think you should be letting that.
Yeah, I gotta kind of figure out. I gotta get on the figure out some art, but it's difficult to even sell right now because again, everyone, dude, I've been dropping my wife off at the train station, only the last 2 days because she's actually been going into the office because the internet's better there and she's got some pretty critical shit to do. So I've been dropping her off and
Wait, hold on, just hold on.
traffic, bro.
You've been making your wife catch the train during
During
a
a
pandemic. And you've got the car, like you just can't be fucked. There's no traffic, Dusty. I've been out there. I've gone to the supermarket. There's
Hey,
no
bro,
one on the
it's just
street,
this.
and you're like, nah. You can get the train. I'm not driving the whole 20 minutes. I'll drive 10.
It's like 7 a.m., bruh.
Like what?
It's like 7 a.m. that you got to get.
But you're out of bed. Also, why do you need the car? What are you doing that you need the car? She can't take the car in. What is
I'm driving around the primary school that's here while it's not on. While they're on holiday, because it's the only time I'm allowed to drive around the primary school. So while they're on holiday, so that's
just taking advantage? All right, no, that's fair. Sorry. So anyway, you're making this poor woman catch the train.
What do you mean, poor woman? That lady runs fucking 8 kilometers a night. She can run to work.
That is super nice of you, dude. Yeah, just get on the train. I'm sure you won't catch anything. It'll be fine.
No, bro. If that woman dies of this COVID thing, man, that would be like a medical example because she's the fittest person I know. So it would be. I'm almost willing to sacrifice her to the sciences to see if COVID can actually take down a fully
So now
fully
it's a
fit
test.
African
Now it's a
antelope.
cool test that you're doing.
My wife is a fully fit African antelope. She'll outrun that COVID for sure.
Sorry, but anyway, so you drop it to the train station.
Yeah, there's no one going to work, bro. There's zero traffic. There's no nothing. So you realize no one's going to work. So no one's earning real money, disposable income. And let's face it, art is disposable income. So
Well, I mean,
yeah,
Don told me he actually read that people weren't going to work on the news, so that's interesting. It's interesting that you're seeing it in real life as well. In case it was a big hoax.
No, the only place that's full of people is Cannon Hill. Bunnings.
Do you know what I actually think, Dusty, is that maybe people are still going to work, but their partners aren't dropping them at the train station to catch diseases.
Maybe that's why a train station parking lot's always quiet.
He's inadvertently found the safest place. Actually,
Not that I park, bro. I slowed down till about like 18 kilometers. I'm like, roll, bitch.
I found out the safest place to be.
I'm saying all
pandemic.
this, but I'm a proper cuck. You know that.
Yeah, I found out that the safest place during the pandemic is actually in Dalton's bedroom. It's the most isolated place in southeast Queensland.
Oh, low blow. Low blow.
And you can't get COVID for random bodily fluids sticking to the wall. So I've heard.
Well, as long as he doesn't have it, I think you're fine. But no one's ever been in there, so it's a real Schrodinger's box.
You're definitely gonna get some fucking herpalurp in there though. Some herpalurpies.
There was something that you mentioned before. Oh, right. Sprout. This is what I think we wanted to get into a little bit.
Are you
as
edit?
well.
Are you gonna edit this thing? And should I swear or what? I don't know. I never know.
No, you can swear. It's fine. They can deal with it. But you spoke before a little bit about sprays, and it leads into what we want to get into, which is, we've covered a little bit of post coronavirus and what you're currently doing, and your abysmal career outlook. But I think it's maybe better to go back good to go back as well and look at before comedy at all, to maybe remind ourselves of the pleasure that is working in entertainment.
I don't want to go
if that's the right
back. Well, I was fortunate enough to just do whatever the fuck I wanted to do. I have never to this very point done anything that I didn't want to do. So, you sacrifice, what's that stuff called? Money.
Dignity, self-respect, integrity.
Well, there's plenty of that, but, fuck. I'd like some, money to deal with the self-respect issue.
Right. Yeah,
yeah,
you sacrifice the money for... Okay.
You sacrifice the money to do whatever the fuck you want to do. So before this, I was a tattoo artist. And while I was an apprentice, that kind of sucked. But then as soon as I became qualified and I started my own studio, I had my own hours. I worked a shitload because I wanted a lot of, I wanted to earn out of it. But I chose my own hours. I ran my own studios for a while, and then I found comedy. And then the only reason I left tattooing is because I started touring, and I couldn't, be their tattoo clients. So I had to give it up, really, which I'm glad about, because it was it's just not. Yeah, it's a difficult industry to make good money on. The labor versus the reward is, the reward is very low for the amount of labor, whereas comedy, the reward is extremely high for the amount of labor. So I don't know what we're complaining
100%.
about. The government doesn't owe us shit.
Can you stop trying to get us taken off of this JobKeeper scheme, please, Dusty? I'll be editing all of that out. Okay, and so where were you tattooing? Because I know you obviously from.
I was
South
tattooing
Africa.
in Tatooine.
And where? Sorry.
Tatooine. That's a
Tatooine.
joke for Dalton.
Yep, that's a great little Star Wars joke there.
I tattooed in South Africa for like 8 years, including apprenticeships like 2 years. So like 5 or 6 years professional, whatever that means. 5 or 6 years, and I knew what I was doing. Those first 2 years, though, fuck.
Well, I was going to ask that. Like, what do you practice on for tattooing? Like, do you get pigs and stuff?
So funny. I was chatting to a South African comedian this morning. He's got a live show on Instagram that goes out at 11 p.m. South African time, and so that's like 7 a.m. Australia. So I got up early to drop off the wife and be on the show, and we were talking about the same thing on the show. So in South Africa, we have something called a car guard, right? It's a person that's supposed to, guard your car while you're in a mall or whatever. Now, obviously, Australia doesn't require that because, you don't have too many cars just disappearing out of your parking lots, but we do. So some reason this car guard thing was invented, and really it's literally I assume I mean, I don't know every single car guard, but I assume it's literally just a homeless guy who goes and buys a high-vis vest from like a Kmart equivalent, puts it on, and then goes out and chills out in parking lots. And then when you get out your car, he's like, hey, I'll watch your car. I'll watch your car for you. And then you're like, I don't give a fuck either way. And then you go in the shop, you go do your shit, you come out, and he's like, hey, man, your car's still here. Your car's still here. and then you got to pay the motherfucker because your car's still there. So these car guards are like fucking everywhere in South Africa, like in every single parking lot. So what we used to do as tattoo artists, when I worked in a mall called the Pavilion Mall in Westville, we used to go upstairs to the parking lot and ask the car guards if they wanted free tattoos. And then we would...
This seems unethical.
Yeah, just your practice dummies are just the
obviously
lower class.
they would. Yeah, obviously.
We didn't have
obviously we would
access to, like,
explain.
carcasses or anything like that, but we did have access to some homeless dudes in high fits upstairs.
just the poor and mentally ill. Can I draw on you permanently?
How did you get them to hold still while they were shaking from withdrawals, Dusty?
We would obviously explain the situation to them and say that we were apprentices and, you know, the tattoo's likely not to come out of high quality. And the guys...
Just so you know, there is a chance that this may stay in permanently.
Yeah, and the guys would be like, bro, do I look like I made some good life decisions? Put the fucking thing on me. So...
Damn. Oh, because I've heard you talk about the car guards before, but I didn't know you used to practice tattooing on them.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah, for the Australian audiences, I practice tattooing on homeless people in high-vis.
Okay. So what was the first... Because that's the thing I don't really get about tattooing, right? Is like, what's the first thing you do? And then what's the timeline before you actually put a needle into a person?
I don't know how it is these days. Again, I stopped tattooing maybe...
Yeah, let's just
7
worry
years
about
ago.
your crazy method of doing it where you're practicing on, on the underclass of society.
The first thing you do is you study the medical side of things to make sure you don't... You know, it is South Africa, so there's a lot of hips going out. The hip A and the hip B, and there's a lot of hips in the neighborhood. So you got to do pretty stringent medical training in order to be able to work, you know, intravenously, basically.
Yeah, you don't want to infect people or get anyone sick.
Yeah,
you don't
or
want to
fucking getting
transmit
it
the
yourself.
diseases from one car guard to another car guard.
While you're tattooing.
Or
car
get it on
guard
your own
across
fucking ass.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you do the medical training first, and then once you do the medical training, then you learn the what do you call it, the theory of the tattooing system, like, and how it works, etc., and what you need to do in order to make it work perfectly. And then that fateful day when your first hobo comes along. When your first car guard comes along, and then you jab or whatever the fuck they wanted on their arm or face.
So how much time? Yeah. How? So like you obviously.
It's probably like
there's some kind of artistic base. Like you're not just like, oh, I've got a real interest in.
You would think so, bro. But a lot of the fucking people that I worked with over time had fuck all artistic. Because what you do is you get a trace, right? It's called a trace.
Yeah.
You'll have an image that they'll either bring in or get you to custom design, or some of the fucking assholes pick it up off the wall, which is the most insane thing I've ever heard of.
Oh yeah, I went with a friend one time when she must have been like 18, just turned 18, and I was probably 18 or 19 as well, and went to a tattoo place, and she was like on the wall, like, oh, I want this thing, and I was like, what? Why?
How long has that been on the wall?
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Like
it's fine to walk into a place
on the wall that day. There's going to be behind your ear or wherever you're putting it for the rest of your life. But if it wasn't on the wall that day,
you walk into a party and a guy's wearing the same shirt on you, and it's embarrassing. What if you walk into a party and you both got the Tasmanian devil tattooed on your neck?
Oh man.
So it takes a bit of time when you're an apprentice to kind of. And you are an apprentice. You're learning from other tattoo artists you're sitting there, and when I say that, it's like any other apprenticeship. You're fucking fetching coffee and cleaning up people's tattoo stations after they were done, and you're manning the desk, or you're doing consultancy about tattoos or whatever. So you're in the game. You're in the thing. You got to go to work every day. You get paid next to fuck all, but you got to go to work every day and do the things. You got to do all the sterilizing and even needle making. We like the place I was with. You normally buy the needles. You buy the needles all like pre-packed, pre-made. But in the place I was, they wanted to save a lot of money, so we literally soldered and created needles. Now it is an accepted practice. It's not like a fucking insane thing, but literally like we made needles. And so you make the needle, and then you go through the sterilization process of making it and repackaging, making the packaging ready to get it to start again. And thinking back, it's fucking disgusting. Even though it was properly done, but like so you're doing a bunch of shit as an apprentice, as you would with any other trade. The difference being that, thank fuck for my clients, I had artistic background, to begin with. So, sure. But like, dude, no kidding, bro. There were people that I worked with that worked in that same studio that fucking couldn't draw a stick, man. They just take the thing off the wall, trace it onto carbon, and then fucking do the lines and then fill in the lines with.
And they're just tattooing the homeless.
Yeah. Well, some of those people had upgraded at that point. Upgraded to people with jobs and houses.
Damn. What was the first thing you inked onto a person?
I was assuming you were going to ask that, and I actually can't remember. I think it may have been like a star or a kanji symbol. I think it was a kanji symbol, actually.
Did you have any idea what it meant? And more importantly, did they have any idea what it meant?
I mean, it was fucking on the wall and it said bravery or some bullshit.
Like the idea of someone in this country going and getting like a random like kanji symbol on their body that they don't really know what it means is already absurd enough. But then to do it in a South African accent for some reason just makes it so much more ridiculous.
And it was huge. And it was a fucking... Everyone got kanji. And you were just like, why the fuck are these people... And it's that old cliche joke. Do you think in Asia they're getting like actual like English bravery, loyalty, fucking chicken noodle soup or whatever the fuck it can be.
Whatever it actually translates out to,
it's mad, dude. Like, and it was big. And then tribal. Do you remember tribal tattoos? Like, big. That was huge as well. And that was kind of easy for an apprenticeship. So I did a shitload of that because as an apprenticeship, you would do the line and then you would just, make sure you did consistent black throughout the pattern. So that was like a big apprenticeships, tribal it's easy technically. It just takes fucking forever.
Yeah, because you're filling in a lot of skin.
Mm.
Yeah, so that we did a lot of that. And then I left early. I left early in my apprenticeship because it was like the place I was at was fucking low quality as fuck. And I was like, I don't want to be involved in this place. So I left early and started my own thing. And then I remember like 2 months after I left and started my own thing, we were in the same competition. We were in a tattooing competition, and I beat their best artist. I beat their best artist at the black and gray category. So it's like, shading and, kind of like pencil, but on skin, monochrome. And so I beat their best artist and they were fucked off, man, because I left like ahead of the apprenticeship.
How do you run a tattoo? I mean, I have no tattoos at all. Dalton has one tattoo.
One tattoo, yeah.
And what's it off, Dalton?
It's a band logo.
Which band?
Every Time I Die.
I thought it was the Blink-182 buddy. That's fine.
No, it's the logo for the band Every Time I Die. Which I mean,
hey, bro, you're fucking interested in the band. You're interested in the band.
It's true. He loves them. Loves them.
Do you love them? Because you better love them.
Oh yeah, you'd hope so, right?
You gotta love every album, even if they come out with like, "Hey guys, sorry about that, but we're going gospel," and you're like, "Fuck."
What's the thing? Like, I'm a big fan of Electric Six, but like I haven't listened to the last couple albums. You know what I mean? But first three, number one band.
I did a lot of band logos, man. I did a shitload of band logos. Fuck.
What were the
I did
most popular band logos that you were doing?
Green Day. I think Green Day's one. The logo of the Dookie album.
Okay.
If you remember the Dookie album cover, it was like that dropping bombs, and it was kind of like the Green Day was in sort of like a slam font type thing. So there was a couple of those. Foo Fighters, the Fs.
Oh yeah.
Did that a lot. Metallica, did a shitload of Metallica. Fuck. I did like a back piece Metallica once. I was like, man, it was like shoulder to shoulder on a big fucking gymming dude.
That's upsetting.
That's
That
love,
is
bro.
very upsetting.
There's a guy
so
who
yeah,
lives
there was
just
a couple
around the
bands.
corner from us here who has a full back piece that's just like Jesus on the cross, but it's really bad. Like it's all wonky and his face looks all like washed out.
Kind of like that. Remember that painting that was that got damaged and then they tried to redo? Remember that meme?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the lady damaged it and she was like, oh, I can fix this. Jesus looks a bit like
Yeah,
a
dude,
monkey.
it was and I mean, I kind of got well known for cover-ups. I got well known for like if people would bring shit tattoos in, and then I would either try and fix the tattoo or place something over it, and then, or like be creative with the way it's placed so it covers up whatever the fuck. So that I actually love doing that, and I used to do freehand, which means I didn't use a trace. I would use a marker pen and draw the tattoo onto the person. So I was known as a freehand artist.
Okay,
And you get quite a bit of work that way because there's ultimate originality in the piece because there's no way I'm not gonna draw the same thing twice. So
Well, that's what I was going to ask about the competition. Like, you're working on people. Like, how does that work? Because it just seems crazy to me that like you're like, hey, we're having a tattoo and like I can't imagine putting myself in the position where someone's drawing on me forever in a competitive format.
Yeah.
So what you could do, if I remember correctly, you could be finishing off a piece, but you had to finish it at the convention. You had to actually have there was a tattoo booth. Like everyone has their own tattoo booth. I don't know how things are nowadays or whatever, but in that one specifically, you had to I think it was either finishing the piece over the 2 days. So it was the Friday and the Saturday, and then it was judged on the Saturday night, if I remember correctly, or the Sunday. I don't know. So you had to do it that way, finish the tattoos there, or start the tattoos there, and then they would judge, on that finished work. Because you couldn't take a motherfucker that was healed, because obviously when a healed tattoo comes out, it's a lot different to when it's freshly done.
Right.
So they would judge you on that shit. They would judge you on your technique, how much you fucking mincemeat the skin. So there was a lot of that kind of thing. And I remember I won. My brother was my dummy, my canvas, if you will. Yeah. And I won off of his piece, off of the piece on his leg. Because I started on the, I think it was a Medusa, if I remember. Okay. Yeah, I think it's Medusa. It's like snake hair and shit. But yeah, so they would judge you on the black and gray. I was in the black and gray, I was in the color, and I was in some other one. Freehand, I think, or freestyle. And that would be either you would draw it on the skin or you would have one of your own designs traced on the skin. Right. So that was for people who had artistic skill, whereas other people were known as tracers. Like they were just people that were tattoo artists that are tracers. They can't design for shit. They can't draw for shit. They just trace a fucking image.
Yeah, they just know how to move their hand.
Look at me getting back into the tattoo business. Like, oh man, fuck them tracers, bro.
Oh man.
I haven't gotten tattooed. I haven't even been tattooed in like 5 years. It's actually it's like from getting tattooed every month to like I haven't been tattooed at all, which is weird.
Actually, I mean, you got a few of them. Go on, lift up
the shirt. I think you're getting Metallica.
Give us a look.
That one was quite the investment because I got it when I had a small arm and now I'm jacked as shit. So
right, yeah. So it used to be you actually got more value for money on that one because they spent less time on it, but now it's huge.
It was cheaper, but now it's expanded, so technically it would be more expensive at this point.
That's right. You can sell that.
I'm tattooed everywhere, bro.
You got a little one on. I haven't seen the one on your butt before. What is that little clover?
It's a forest of clovers. That was just the top one.
Oh, okay. Real proud of that Irish heritage, huh?
There's a leprechaun down there as well.
Lee. So for like again going back to the car guard thing. What kind of tattoos were you doing on these poor people, and do any of them stand out?
Yeah, there was almost like a sheet or like a column of, they're called flash. The pictures that are on the wall, it's called flash. And so there was like a column of flash that you were allowed to choose from to tattoo on the car guard. So there were fairly small, cheap tattoos that wouldn't require a lot of materials from the studio.
Okay, so you weren't having like a lot of like crazy people coming in for their free tattoo, and like they're like, no, I want to have this ridiculous thing.
No, there were small things. Like this one here is actually done by my apprentice. This little anchor.
A little anchor.
So they were that, they were no bigger than that. The apprenticeship program, you wouldn't tattoo anything really bigger than that, because they didn't want to use a lot of supplies on homeless people. And
Yeah, makes sense.
You're tattooing for sport.
and
yeah,
Do you have to catch them first, or did you lure them in?
you just take a little baggie of meth, jingle it,
Yep.
because you wouldn't hear what meth sounds like. Like if I had like a bag over here and I jingled it and it was full of meth, you wouldn't know.
No, but someone who loved the stuff would be like a dog whistle.
Yeah, they're like a car guard would hear that 14 kilometers away.
Yeah.
No, I mean, free tattoos, bro. And these people were like, trying to be, live on the streets and shit. You need a bit of cred. So you got that kanji symbol that says bravery, bruh. I live on the streets now. Bravery in kanji, bruh.
Now, is that
street cred? I get all my ink from apprentices.
for free while I'm working my high-vis car guard job, which I made up at a mall?
I mean, they do it. If you think about it, they do it at motherfucking hospitals, dude. You go see like a fucking intern or some shit, like do a little, fucking suture up your injury or whatever. So.
Oh yeah, that's the same as hospitals. You're right. That's what happens at hospitals.
Yeah, what did I say? My medical thing took about a month. They were in there for like 8 years.
Yeah, but you know what they're not doing in hospitals? Like luring the homeless guy who started working in the parking lot into the hospital so they can break one of his bones and then put it back together because he needs to practice casting. No, it's fine. We're just going to dislocate your knee very briefly.
Speaking of casting, that's how we got there. We put a bag of meth on a fishing rod.
I imagine that car guard. I mean, look, South Africa's a completely different place with a different system to what's going on here. Car guard sounds like a terrible job. To me, like having to go in and stake your own parking lot and put on high-vis. And I mean, it sounds more like extortion than it does an actual business model. Really.
Well, it 100% is. It 100% is, because like I know mates who have come out of the thing and been like, bro, where's my fucking car? And they're like, so it's not like they're not doing it. Yeah, they're not guarding.
Just wearing a.
Exactly, they're not actually like guarding the car. But someone will go, hey, not this one. This one's mine. I got this one. They're not.
That guy didn't pay. You can take his.
Yeah, exactly, bro. Yeah. There's like a fucking running joke of that. Of like, that motherfucker didn't pay. Off you go. Catch him at the next one.
But I can't. I mean, to get that straight in people's minds. But then also, I can't imagine that's the worst South African job you can have.
Well, I don't think that falls into the job criteria, but
I don't
know what would be.
They're not getting super.
What would be the worst job in South Africa, man?
Well, yeah, I mean that's
travel.
That's
being
fucking tourism, probably.
An Olympian's girlfriend probably wouldn't be too good.
And she got paid for that. She got paid for that. No, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, tourism must be a motherfucker.
Well, you got Cape Town. People like Cape Town, don't they?
Yeah.
Isn't all of your tourism money is just spent on Cape Town, right?
Yeah. It's a beautiful place though. So I mean, but the thing is, it's so funny about Cape Town. You have to fly. When you fly into the airport and land, the airport greets you, and it's it looks like any first world international airport. But as you fucking come out and then take the highway in order to get to Cape Town, you got to go through the Cape Flats, which are like the most derelict neighborhoods you can imagine of just like crime-ridden shit. So everyone that comes to Cape Town has to like drive through that shit before they get to the waterfront and to the money or whatever. So that tickles me every time. You're like, yeah, motherfucker, welcome to Africa, bitch. Have a quick look before you're in your 12-foot walls for the rest of your travels.
Do they have a Johannesburg tourism campaign? Like, do you remember seeing anything for Joburg? Or it was like,
no, I don't think Joburg can't have one. Fuck up. Oh, fuck. Come see our desolate gold mines. No, I don't think... I've seen a South African one. In fact, the guy that I was talking to earlier today, Robbie Collins, he was a comedian that I started with. He also opened for that Trevor.
What's that guy's name? Something.
So he was also... That's where kind of like... That's kind of where we became good friends through that whole scenario. And he was their fucking face of the South African tourism campaign. And they flew him over here, I think, at some point to come and do like a expats tourism campaign where they went to all the South Africans and were making fun of Australia in order to tell them to come back to South Africa, but not in like a come live here. It was like a tourism tongue-in-cheek type.
Right. Yeah,
but they were fucking, yeah, dude, I remember watching it and they were like, have you heard where they put their sausages? Have you heard where they put their sausages? In one slice of bread. In a slice of bread. What is wrong with this country? And it was things like that making, because we got boerewors. I think I've told you about boerewors before, which is like a big sausage,
round sausage, like
the spiral, and then you put a big piece of that in like a bigger than usual hot dog roll,
right?
And then you go down to Bunnings and just get a snag slapped on a fucking crusty edge of a loaf of bread with some onions and sadness.
Yeah, but you guys also drink like concentrate guava juice as a sport, and all of your meat has been dried out on a rock. So I would be making fun of Bunnings.
Yeah, so that's where the gag was. The gags were like, some of the gags were like, oh, you living in Australia now? Are you enjoying the jerky? And it was, it was those kinds of gags at the two, and it was fascinating because he actually contacted me while they were in pre-production or whatever the fuck, to like, what's Australia like, or what are the weird different things, and et cetera, to kind of like poke fun at. So yeah, there's tourism campaigns, but I don't think they work.
But they're mainly aimed at South Africans asking if they could please come back and visit and spend some of the money they made in another country.
Also come spend some of the money you made during apartheid and left with.
Oh yeah. I mean, look, there's a worse South African job, I guess.
What?
Any South African army job, I suppose, or having to be part of that.
Well, it depends what era. I mean, if you're there was only white army people in 85 and below, 1985 and below. That must have been fucking. And if you were in the army, okay, there was conscription. So everyone had to go to the army. Every single white male South African had to go to the army.
Until when?
I think it was I don't know the actual numbers, but I think it was mid 70s to mid 80s.
Okay.
That every white South African male of the age of 18 was conscripted to go do 2 years. I think it was something like that.
Oh, it's so crazy to hear it. It's like white South African male, like just that like the idea of having that distinction is.
And that makes me laugh because
yeah.
it wasn't South African men; it was white South African. It wasn't like there was an opposing black army. I don't think they were arrested.
It wasn't like
Okay, you guys go to the black army. You guys go to the white army.
We've got the white team and the black team squaring off. It was a
We
pressure.
got to stop putting more black people in the black army. It's 98% majority of the country. They're over fucking numbering us.
No, yeah. So it was just white males of 18. My father was, and all the uncles were. So I don't know when it ended, but obviously I wasn't near getting conscripted. But everyone went, bro. So you kind of can't say that everyone was a fucking racist that went to the white thing army. But the fucking people who enjoyed it, definitely, you know, the people who hung on after their 2 years, they were like, I'm gonna chill out. Yeah, seems fun murdering black people.
Yeah.
So so they were. I think like my dad. I mean, he was one of those who stayed on and, you know, enjoyed it or whatever the fuck.
How long for?
I don't know. It was like I was born in 1985, and that's when things started to like get a little bit wobbly for the old
For Whitey?
apartheid system. For the old apartheid system, yeah. So
Okay.
I like to think it was because of my birth that things started getting a bit insane.
Yeah, you're like an apartheid Jesus.
Exactly. I was the chosen one. I came from the racist father, but decided to be against racism. Like, he's the chosen one. He's the one the prophecy foresaw. So yeah, so I don't know sort of what the fuck went on there, but like 85 it became a bit rocky. I think it was before me, or I think maybe during the pregnancy he was in the army. Good call.
Yeah, stay away from that. You don't have to deal with the screaming and the blood.
A little bit after. But I remember as a kid, bro. I remember as a fucking like a 4-year-old. No, maybe that's too young to remember. I've had a lot of drugs in my 20s. Somewhere around there, somewhere around kid age or whatever. I would go into the toilet to have a piss, and my dad's rifle, his automatic rifle, that's where he kept it. He kept it to the left of the cistern. I'll fucking never forget it. It was to the left of the cistern, and you had to have, like, as a child, have a little pea staring to this fucking, you know, the rifle was, I mean, the rifle was taller than I was at that point. And that's where he would keep it, because that, I think some army people got to take their weapons, their ordnance, they got to take their ordnance home with them in case shit kicked off. With rioting or whatever the case was.
Do you know what the strategy was? Because I mean, I've got a few military friends, and they talk to you about always, you know, they enter a room and like there's, you know, this kind of subconscious training that they've had to think about things like exits and like where they're positioned and where other people are positioned, and just stuff that, you know, is drilled into your head over and over and over and over again while you're in training, and then there's something that you just do naturally. So what was the thinking with your father leaving his gun to the left of the cistern?
Yeah.
If I'm going to do some murdering of an indigenous people, I'm going to take a shit first.
He was like, I'm not. Mate, you know what? Didn't want to get caught with his pants down. Very clever
Exactly.
man.
Exactly. I think that's where that saying comes from. Yeah. He had. I remember like as kids we would kind of like you know, because we grew up quite poor. We didn't have toys, so we would just fucking get into the roof of my grandparents' house and into the garage had like rafters that had a bunch of shit in there, and we would climb up there and get into all sorts of mischief, and we would find there were 5 brothers, so there were, and the oldest brother who was murdered, that's a long story, different story, but
What is your uncle?
Yeah, the oldest uncle. So my dad's oldest brother, my dad's second in the crew, in the 5 brothers, and he was an apartheid policeman. So in the rafters of the garage was just all this fucking equipment, bro, like army shit and fucking big old Rambo knives that if you undid the handle inside were like fucking start a fire, flint and shit like that, and like little maps and all sorts of weird shit. So it's just so much like military equipment. And I actually, it's funny that you bring that up about your friend, because I've never really experienced a military culture that's proud. Like in Australia, you have like the Anzac celebration and shit like that. Like it's a proud thing. Where
Yeah,
in
yeah.
South Africa, you're like, yes, I also come from a military family. Unfortunately, they were the Nazis. So it's just,
Yeah.
it's so fascinating. It's so fascinating to me. Like my grandfather, bro, he was a deacon. He was like he was the sweetest man. He was like a fucking, a deacon, some kind of priest or something like that.
Oh, okay.
And then just these 5 brothers, these 5 boys that they gave birth to were just fucking maniacs.
All
Just
of
every
them.
single one of them.
So you got what, like apartheid police? You've got your father who was
Yeah, well,
just
they all went to
apartheid
the army,
military.
right? So there was a bit of an age gap between my dad, the next one, and then the last 2. There was quite an age gap. So the top 3 were kind of the maniacs. But my dad is literally the black sheep of the family. I know that I have fucking fake blonde hair, but all the other brothers are blonde, and my dad's hair was black. So he was
Right.
literally the black sheep of the family. He never participated in sports. He was like, hated everything that was involved in the family. All the other brothers were surfers. All the other brothers were kind of like fucking laid back, chilled, as much as you can be in apartheid South Africa, I suppose. Let's go surfing and throw stones at black people.
Well,
Whatever
that's
they
a
do.
weird. That seems like a weird duality. We're like, we're
Yeah.
going surfing, and then we're gonna go.
Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, I envied the uncles. I envied my uncles because they had like a lot of surf, and I was into surfing as a kid. So they had a lot of like surfing attire and surfing like equipment in their bedrooms and shit like that. Their old bedrooms, like at my grandparents' house, because that's where we always used to hang out. And I used to envy, like, oh fuck, and then I'd go into my dad's old room and it'd have like fucking knife marks in the wall, like blacks, black. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And I'd be
damn.
like, fuck. I'd be like, shit, man. Why couldn't I have one of the fucking chilled out brothers instead of this fucking psycho?
I mean, you've told me some crazy stories about your father.
Yeah, yeah.
He's a real humdinger.
Yeah, real good stuff. So when did you? Because you went to the UK for a bit as well. What were you doing?
Yeah.
in the
I
UK?
left home when I was pretty young, and then I tried to have a go on my own. So I can do this parenting thing. I failed that young man. I failed him dismally. And
But did you
then I went.
did you do a better job than your dad?
Wait, what? Better
Did you
job
do a
than
better
them.
job at parenting yourself than your dad did at parenting you? Like, did you ever have to punch on with yourself?
Yes, but that was for different reasons. But the fucking I'm not a piece of shit, dirty, racist, fucking prejudiced, near homeless quail farmer. So I must have done all
Is that
right.
what he does now? Quail farming.
I don't know. It was a running joke in the family for a while because I think at some
It just
stage
seems so quaint. It's like, oh yeah, well, I was in the military for a bit, did a lot of bad shit, but I just want to hang back and farm my quails.
he's not out there like fucking Farmer Brown farming quails. He's probably choosing eggs like this egg's too brown.
Oh damn! So did you go straight from Durban to the what was
UK, yes.
You've never told me about your timeline, like just that the comedy at some point, tattooing at some point.
I wish I could tell you the timeline, but again, I did. I attempted a lot of the narcotic substances back in the day.
Too many
so-
nose beers.
Yeah, it makes things a little bit hazy back then. But yeah, there's probably government documents that fucking would be able to tell me exactly the timeline. But I went to England almost soon after high school.
Okay.
There were no prospects and anything. And there was this program to go over there that would give you a working holiday visa. You could go earn an amount of money that was attractive at the point. But you had to go sell electricity door to door, which it didn't...
Oh, they were funneling you into a job program.
Yeah, dude, and that program actually got fucking watchdogged a few months after I left it. And it was Australia. That's my first introduction to Australians. There was a fuck ton of Australians, a fuck ton of New Zealanders, Kiwis.
Yeah.
There was a fuck ton of South Africans, and we were all A-type personalities. You know what I mean? All fucking, and so just living with those cunts was fucking nightmare. Living with me So we would go. They would give us like a sheet in the morning, and you would have to go hit a neighborhood and try and sell these old elderly people more expensive electricity. And I would do, because their system, they got, it's like this system. In South Africa, we have one electrical supplier, one telecommunication supplier, but in obviously in
Did
Australia
you
and
have
England,
power shedding?
load shedding, load shedding was
Load shedding.
it's still a thing. It's like, it's fucking mad. It's like when they turn bits of the country off because we're using too much of the thing they supply.
But you have the sun there all the time. Why can't you harness the good power of the sun to
Yeah.
keep everything on?
Because
That's
that
why
would
that
take a
job sounds so
motherfucker.
funny. Like
I
selling
love the idea.
electricity, like it's a timeshare. Like you can have it some of the time.
That's great. Them just shipping South Africans, a lot of them who have never even experienced power, and then you got to go sell it to old people in the UK with funny voices.
It's a convoluted situation because there is an apartheid legacy, there is an apartheid infrastructure legacy, there is a fucking brain drain situation. There's all sorts of reasons for the fucking load shedding, but there isn't really reasons for the load shedding in 2020. And there is still load shedding. There is still load shedding to this point. Blaming things like, dude, and it's like, it's a running joke, and it's actual front page factual news in South Africa that they were like, sorry, the coal got wet. It rained on the coal.
We left it all outside. It never rains here. It rained.
That's a true story. So like I agree that there is infrastructure issues, but it's like, it's fucking 2020. The first democratic elections were 1994. Like, if you motherfuckers can't get your shit together yet, then, who knows when it's going to happen. So the load shedding is a very funny thing. We'd actually get schedules. They'd send us literally a schedule and say, hey, bruh, fucking Tuesday between 3 and 7. I hope you weren't planning on having a fucking meal.
Yeah, eat all your ice creams before
Yeah,
that.
that's why we like brine / barbecuing, because you just go outside and fucking put the thing on a fire.
Yeah, cook everything all at once. And so how long were you selling power for in the UK? That's crazy. That sounds like a crazy scheme to be involved in. Like, so that was a government initiative that they somehow.
No, it was private. It wasn't even the electrical company. We weren't even really connected to the electrical company. My Southern Electric was the company I was selling for, but it was a separate like sort of almost like a marketing thing or whatever. And they just got people who were good at sparking up a conversation, I suppose, or breaking the ice or whatever. As you open up a door, it'd be like, "Hey, nice hair. Let's talk about this fucking electricity problem you got." So I think it was just a bunch of those people that this marketing division. They were like, "Fuck, bro." They were like, there were steps in order to make it over, like huge steps, like crazy. I think the last thing that I had to do in the selection process was I was asked to play the role of the nativity chicken at the Christmas play. And then, so they said, we need you to play the role of the nativity chicken at the Christmas play. Go. And I'm there like,
So you found a love for the stage early on.
yeah. So then I was just thrust into this fucking situation of just a bunch of British people calling me cunt for a full day's work of just getting doors slammed in my face. And because that's no way to sell a fucking, an infrastructural commodity. That's no way to sell it. Like, it's not the right way. Anyway, but like after I only was there for like a few weeks, and then I found that I kept being sent to older, like the people I was dealing with were older and fucking older, and I'm talking like World War fucking 1 or 2 veterans. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like it was, and I just couldn't fucking hack it in my soul to like just rip these people off. I mean, I ripped a few off before I had my conscience kick in, and it just didn't feel good that I was like cheating them out of probably cheaper electricity or whatever. I knew that our electrical contract was on the expensive side compared to what you could get for the same fucking, it's the same electricity. It's all grain in the same fucking pipe or whatever.
Yeah,
so
that's right, the pipes.
So I just couldn't hack it. Yeah, I just couldn't hack it, and I quit. I quit, and I was doing well. I mean, I was getting good comm. and then I quit. And then I went to the north of England for a bit and just did copious amounts of substances. And
Were you working at that time as well?
Not in any. Yeah, I was like at one stage I was packing sporting goods for primary schools in this fucking massive warehouse, and you'd get like an order that Prince Sir Charles's primary school needed some fucking cricket bats, and then you'd get on you'd turn the trolley jack, that thing that you pump like that, and then the two things come up. You turn that bitch around, put a big cardboard box on the thing, and just fucking speed through the warehouse to fucking, shelf Z359, pull off the cricket bats, throw it in the cardboard box, and then fucking shoot back to the front where they laid out the smaller cardboard boxes. You throw that shit in there and then tape it up and then say, fucking order 5956, fucking ready, next one. And so I did that. I also met a lot of Australians, Kiwis, and Polish people doing that. And then so I did that for a while. It paid incredibly compared to what I had earned since I left home at 16.
Sure.
it was fun days, and I spent a lot of the money I kept the money in my private investment account. I don't like to say where I put it. I didn't put it below a mattress. I put it here.
So
I always knew where it was. So I had a lot of adventures there and shit like that. But I didn't do anything I worked in retail at the Top Man shoe department for a go. Didn't really do anything constructive, and then like I got into the wrong crowd, did a lot of narcotics, and got like to a point where I was like, fuck, this is literally I am 5 seconds away from diving into a toilet a la Train Spotting style. And then I kicked back to South Africa.
It's funny that you lived like that entertainer lifestyle, just on the bones of your ass in the UK, and then after becoming an entertainer, just completely cleaned up your act.
Yeah. I always say that, bro. I always say that. I had my drug binge too early. I haven't really participated in any sort of frivolity like that since I got back from that trip.
Yeah.
Because it was fucking I flew 11 hours from a British winter to a South African summer, and like I was climbing the fucking walls of that airplane, and then the heat hit me. The heat of South Africa hit me in the face the minute that door opened, and I think I was like sick for 2 weeks, just like withdrawal and like and then I was like, fuck that, man. It's not even about getting up there. I just didn't want to ever come down again. So I was like, in order to not come down, I can't go up.
How did it feel like coming back into South Africa? Or did you feel defeated? Did you feel or you were just feeling sick?
Yeah, well, I don't thinking back to that motherfucker or whatever. I don't know if I even thought about it or whatever. I just was like, what's next? And next was tattooing, actually. Very soon after that, I became a tattoo artist. And now I love tattooing. I loved tattooing. I loved the artistry behind it. I loved the interaction with people. And that's kind of what led me to do comedy was the tattooing thing. People were getting fucked off because I was making them laugh so much and they weren't sitting still while I was trying to tattoo them. And then I saw this dude do comedy in Durban, and it was so bad. It was so fucking bad, and I got drunk during the thing, and I was like, afterwards, I was like, man, where do you do this shit? I want to come show you how to do this shit. Where did you come? Where? Because I'd never seen live stand-up comedy up to that point. Yeah. So
where was the first time you saw it?
So 11 years ago. So that's 20. What's that? That's 23.
2000.
When I was 23 was the first time I ever saw live stand-up comedy, and I was like, that's not how it's done. Because I'd watched Billy Connolly since I was 4.
Yeah.
And Richard Pryor, and my mom was into stand-up, so like I watched it and listened to a shitload of comedy albums, and I was like, bro, that's not fucking stand-up. So that 2 weeks later, the guy said to me, there's an open mic, and there was no such thing in Durban. There was no such thing. You know, like these open micers are like, we don't have enough performances this Wednesday. There's not enough gigs on Wednesday.
Where did you see a show for the first time? Like, how could you?
It was at this random theater. Apparently, this cat that I watched had come from another scene and was like looking to like make it big in Durban because he would be the only fish in the pond or whatever the fuck the situation was.
Sure.
You know motherfuckers, bro. They got plans. And so I just saw him in some random theater. It just some dude said that there was a comedy and we should go watch it. And I saw it in some random theater and I was immediately like, that's fucking not stand up. At least the perception I have of it. And then I lied to the guy at the end of it and I was like, man, that was fucking great. It was so good. I want to get involved.
Yeah.
I want to get involved. Where do I get involved? And then he said 2 weeks time we got to open mic. And I was like, so do I need to close the mic or what's the...
And then how long before you were opening for Trevor in front of thousands of people?
About a year. But it's a year and a half.
Fucking hell.
A year and a half or something like that. It was very funny because in my first year, and I've said this to comics because comics will always ask like, how long you been doing it? I can't count my like first year of comedy because I only did like 8 or 9, 5-minute spots in that
like
whole
once
year.
a month, wherever you could in Durban.
Well, not wherever we could. There was the one motherfucking place, Harvey
exactly.
Wallbangers. I remember it was a place that had it for a while, and then that fucking got canned, and then it was somewhere else. So I didn't really do any, and then I got fed up with that. I was like, fuck that. And then me and 2 other comics were like, let's get a speaker system and fucking go and try and do it every week or whatever. And then we did. And then for that first like year or that after that 6 months where I got, like, let me get into it, I'd gone from like, I remember the last place I performed before I performed with Trevor in front of maybe 2,800 people at the Durban Civic Theatre. The last place I performed before
The Durban
that,
Civic Theatre shouldn't hold 2,800 people. It just doesn't sound like
it's
it
a
should
beautiful
hold any
theatre.
people.
I hope it's still beautiful, but it was a fucking beautiful one then. And the last place I performed before that, and I'm talking like the previous week. The very last place I performed was at a sandwich restaurant that had that I performed in an L. So I was performing to that column of people, 8 people, and then I was performing to this column of people, possibly 12, and they didn't know each other existed. They couldn't see each other. It was like
talking to the
it
other.
was like so in effectively I had 2 audiences of 8 and 12, and that place I performed at, and then the next week I performed in front of 2,800 or whatever people, like straight away.
Yeah,
and
insane.
that's from like fucking, just running our own shitty gigs and just fucking trying our best. We got one like comedy festival at that stage. We had like one comedy festival, which was part of an arts festival, kind of like Melbourne. Well, not Melbourne, kind of like Adelaide.
Fringe.
Yeah, it's called the Grahamstown Arts Festival, and then they had a fringe comedy thing, and I tried that for a couple of years to do something, and just nothing was working. Nothing was fucking kicking off. I was too white trash in a new black positive country. Like it was a black positive country. It was positively black. Like let's support the black, and let's support the black man. And the black woman. Let's build them up. Etc.
So you're saying that you were oppressed?
No. I do have that joke though. I'm like, I've always identified as a black man because I was also oppressed by a white man growing up. His name was Dad.
It's good that really, when you think about it, your dad didn't see color or anything. He just wanted to make people feel bad.
I remember my dad used to love Tina Turner till he found out she was black.
Jesus Christ.
What did he think was happening?
He used to love that song because I think he saw it in Mad Max. That's what I reckon my father fucking always wanted to be. My father always wanted to be Mel Gibson in Mad Max Thunderdome.
Right.
And then he realized that like and I think he was trying to make it happen by murdering as many people. And then he loved that song, and I don't know if this is more of like a fucking memory I've created in my mind about him, but I remember him something like, do you know Tina Turner was black? And I was like, Yeah, just fucking pictures of her everywhere. And he's like, oh. He was just like angry that he enjoyed.
I love that kind of racist. Like he's angry that she's like, oh, but I still like her. Like he's trying to reconcile it. In
It's
his
so
head.
funny, actually. I never ever called my father racist. My father's a bigot. My father fucking hates everything. He hates everything. I always said that if there was one way to end my father or like murder him or whatever, I just need to go home with a black tranny wife. Then we had adopted an Asian kid, and the Asian kid liked poetry or some shit like that. And then we just walk into the house, and he'd be like, we just back away, no fingerprints, nothing, bro.
How old is the quail farmer?
I don't know. He's young. He's youngish. I think he's like 50.
Young at heart.
50. He's old at heart. He's fucking Vladimir Dracula. He's I think he's in like his mid 50s. He's quite young for like when I see other people my age as fathers. He's quite relatively young.
Yeah, I got the same thing. My parents had me at like 20, so it must have been the
Yeah.
same for you.
I think my dad was 20 when he had me. So whatever that is, 20 plus 35. Oh, that's quite easy. 55.
Oh, isn't that terrifying? 20 years old and
Yeah, dude. I'm 30, turning 35. 20 years old was 15 years ago.
I know. You'd have a 15-year-old.
Dude. Fuck that.
Isn't that terrifying? Oh, I can't imagine. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm
Dude, it scares the
I'm
hell out
even
of me.
thinking like, bro, late 30s maybe at this point.
yeah. Put a 4, put a 5 on that, maybe. You know, let's give it a couple more decades.
I can't fuck around with that, bro. I was working on my career and this motherfucking pandemic pulled the rug out of me.
I know. But at least we get to do this beautiful podcast together.
Yeah, which has been a lot of fucking fun, but I gotta go, bro. What time is it? We've been an hour and
Yeah, no,
27.
I know. It's
not one of them
done, Skip.
fucking. It's not one of them podcasts that 4-hour ones, are they?
No. I think we've pretty much covered everything. I mean, you know, the highlight obviously being you luring the homeless in to tattoo them in a studio. It's like what's the most dangerous game?